today is it's going to be a busy one. We've got Martin Cox, he's a Senior Technical and Support Manager. We've got Richard Mead, he's a Sales Engineer, Kate Marshall, Marketing Director, and myself, Patrick Grant. Okay, we're going to get right into it today. As I said, it's a question and answer format, so if you send them over, again using the same box, the text chat box, and we'll get those questions answered for you. We're going to start off today with some of the questions that have been sent over the last week or so. The first one is, why am I getting noise on my interior scene? And this one's over to Richard.
Alright guys, just give me a second so you can swap over to my screen. Right, basically we get this complaint, I suppose, quite often, but also people asking why basically they are getting sort of speckling noise on their interior scenes, and we're just going to quickly go over why that might happen and what you can do to fix that. So here we are. We've got a basic scene just with a window on one side and just a ball in the middle of the room. And if I just hit render and start this off, you should see what's going on. And as we can see, it's probably quite familiar to a few of you. We've got lots of black and white speckling noise inside, and it's a pretty unsightly render, and it's not really what we're after. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that we've got a portal over our window, and that basically lets Shaderlight know where all the sunlight's coming from, and it speeds up the render and it gets a really good, quick, crisp quality render. So first thing I'm going to do is just quickly stick a Starlight portal over the window. So I'm just going to swing outside so we can see what's going on, and open up my light editor, and I need to open up the drop down and find myself a skylight portal, and I'm going to place it over this window here. When you're drawing a skylight portal, one thing to bear in mind is you can see a little orange line that comes out of the portal, and what that basically tells you is which way the portal is facing. So we can see there that the orange line is facing into the room, which means that that's the way that the sunlight's going to shine. It's very important that you have portals facing the correct direction because sunlight only goes one way. So I'm just going to draw my portal over this window, and you can see again that we've got our little egg shape on the inside of the window, and that again shows us that we're inside. Just going to make sure that my shade light stays on top, and if I swing back inside, you can see that straight away my render is looking much, much nicer. All that speckly noise is gone, and it's looking much better. However, there's still a few problems with our scene. This wall here is still fairly dark, and it's not really looking too good at the moment, and that's basically because we currently haven't got GI on. GI is an acronym for Global Illumination, and it basically means that light bounces around, and that's the reason that this wall is black, is because the light's coming straight in, but they're not bouncing around and coming back this way. So to turn that on, I need to open up my shade light settings with this cog up here, and under Scene, I need to change it from Exterior to Interior, and you can see here it says Interior GI. You can see that once I've swapped over to that, just give it a second to update. And there we are. The scene's looking much, much better already. You'll also notice now that whereas before it was it was very black and white in here, we're now getting some of this redness leaking off this wall. And that's basically because all the light rays that are bouncing off this red bit are now sending that red back towards the room, and that's why we're getting that colour leakage. Around the corner here you can see it really, really evidently. So basically we get some nice colour bleeding. And that's basically the look you're after. So it's a two-step process basically. Portals over your window and ensure that your scene is set to GI. And that's it for this.
Thanks, Rich. Well, another question we hear quite a lot is when rendering, again, interior scenes, but in particular offices, and how to achieve office lighting. So Martin's going to run through a quick office scene to demonstrate how to render office lighting in a scene.
Okay, we're just swapping over to my scene here. So yeah, you know, we get a lot of questions regarding modelling tubular lights. You know, do you model the tubular lights? Do you use different lighting techniques? Do you try and make the view ultimately hide so you don't actually see the detail in the ceiling? So I'm going to show you a technique that that I've used on a couple of renders, and you know, just hopefully to make life a little bit simpler looking at that sort of ceiling lighting. Now we can see I've got this scene set up here, and I've actually modelled the ceiling tiles, And we can see that I've got this texture here, and this texture is from cgtextures.com. And so I've just got that familiar sort of speckled ceiling tile. Now if I come outside here, we can see I've just got the component on the floor. So this is how my ceiling is made up, and you know, just using this component sort of tiled. So I'm just going to start Shaderlight rendering. Now, you know, we're not seeing a great deal at the moment, simply because we've just got my background image here, and there's no lighting in our component here. Now, it's always worth mentioning, you know, when you are working with lighting, particularly with our scene here, you know, we've got quite a large number of lights inside our ceiling. So rather than putting a light and texture in every single one, I would always recommend working with components. So if I just edit this component, so I'm inside of here now, and I'm going to select this center grey tile, and I'm just going to use a texture image on that tile. Now what I've actually done here, and if I just go into my library where I've got some textures, I've actually taken a photo of our office lights that we use here. So this is you know, exactly how we have it in our office, and I've just taken a photo of one of our lights. So if I apply that on there, and I'm just going to set this to 500 by 500, which is the size of the tile there, and we can see we've now got that light in our center tile. So I'm going to go into our material editor, and I'm going to set this to be a self-illuminating material, and we can now see we actually get a glowing effect of that tile. So just turning that on there, I'm going to brighten that up so that it now looks overexposed on our render here, but what's going to happen is when we go inside our room, and we're going to put some more lights in as well, this will then update so we can see that detail, but you know, we'll see that shortly. And so that's now illuminating, so it looks like it's actually sort of glowing. And to cast the light, I'm going to put an area light over the top of our tile here. Now, as Richard mentioned on the portal, the area light is the same with the orange line in the middle, so just, you know, choosing that direction there. So I've put that area light in my component here. So we've got that light on the component, and now the good thing is that this is going to be in all the components and inside our scene, so in all our ceiling panels. So I'm now going to go back into our room here, and this is just going to update in a second, and so it's going to calculate that GI that Rich mentioned, and we're then going to see, you know, the complete sort of effect that we've got from that lighting in our office here. So we can see the you know, our illumination on our ceiling tiles as that's coming in. That's just refining there, and you know, we've actually got the lighting. We can start to see the lighting that is coming from those tiles. So it's just a simple way of creating that effect. So you know, it really is a nice, easy way. Now, the reason I would do this rather than modelling the lights is, one, you know, ultimately modelling the lights, it's going to make your model much bigger, and it really does depend on, you know, do you require that level of detail? Fair enough, if we are zooming into one of these tiles and you can see the detail, then yes, I would recommend it. But if the focus of your render is not that light, you know, this is quite a good way of creating that effect. So, you know, hopefully that answers the question from sort of who that came in from. So, yeah, you know, hopefully that's helped, and keep any questions coming.
Excellent, Martin. Thank you. Well, this one's a good one that's just come in. A number of you who follow us on Facebook may have seen one of Richard's most recent posts. It's a nice bedroom scene. And the question that's actually come across is, how did Rich manage to get that scene to look like that? Richard.
Right, okay, so I've just swap over to my screen so you can see what's going on. There we are. So this is basically the scene that everyone's talking about. It's a sort of a loft conversion, attic conversion type scene with some light coming into the window. And there's been a few questions asked about this scene, about how I managed to create it. And the first one was how I managed to get a skylight portal on this this angled roof. And I know it's an issue for lots of people. And I'm just going to quickly show you how I managed to do that. So I'm just going to fly around so I'm outside. And this is our window area. What I need to do to create this is it's a few steps, and it's a little bit annoying, but we work with what we've got. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the rectangle tool and I'm going to draw a rectangle over the entire area of my window. So I'm going to start up here and draw down. And you'll see that as I get to this corner here, the same thing happens with SketchUp's rectangle tool as happens with the Shaderlight portal. And so basically that's the reason it's happening. It's not our fault. It's a problem with SketchUp. So what we do is we need to find a way to get around that. So you can see here that as long as I don't get to the corner point, SketchUp doesn't mind that I draw it to there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw it so it's a little bit short of this corner and draw it there. So there we are, we've got it at the right angle. The next thing we need to do is move this line so that it lines up. So I'm going to take this line here, grab the move tool, and just drag it up. And generally speaking, we'd think, right, I need to put it to this corner, but if I put it to that corner, the same thing's going to happen that happens all the rest of the time, so that it will snap around the corner. So I'm actually going to make this a little bit longer. So I'm going to take it right out to this edge bit of the frame and draw it to there. What I'm then going to do is grab my pencil tool, and I'm just going to stick a little marker in here on my plane so that I can see where the edge of my window is. So I'm just going to draw a little line there, like that. Simple as that. I can then take my model, right-click on it and hide it, and we've now got a basic template of what our window needs to look like. I've also got my little indicator to show me how long my window is. So now I can grab the light tool, swap the skylight portal, draw my skylight portal in, and this time I can use that little line down there as a point to snap to, but it doesn't get upset and flip around like it usually does. So I can draw it in like that. And I'm just going to select my template, delete that. I can then go Edit, Unhide All, and I've now got my skylight portal perfectly covering this entire area. So I can fly back inside now. And so we're back inside. Just open up my render settings. And for this particular render, I've gone for the golf course evening to start with, and we'll see how that looks. So I'll just render that now. Just give it a second to work out what's going on. And there we are. So it's not looking too bad. We can see what's going on. I've got the portal's covering the windows now, so I haven't got any issues inside. I haven't got too much noise or anything like that. But what I really want is some light coming straight in through this portal and landing on the floor down here. And that's one of the main features that we implemented in 2.1. It was the ability to have light shining directly through portals. And because of that, I want to take advantage of it. So what I could do is try and move the golf course environment around, try and rotate it around so that I can get my light in the right place. Because at the moment we can see the sunlight shining in this way and ending up on that wall. So I'm going to rotate my environment around a little bit and see if I can get it in the right place. So I'm using the position slider here to rotate it around. Just make sure it stays on top. You can see I've gone the wrong way there, so maybe I'll go around to 270. See, still not quite right there. And that's probably because I'm using the wrong lighting environment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Shaderlight's other lighting environments to swap it to one that I think is probably a little bit better. So I'm going to swap it from golf course to business park. Give it a second to compute. And there we are. We can see that already looks much better. Our lighting's in a much better direction that I wanted before, and we can see it's on the ground. Still not in quite the right place though, so I'm just going to drag my position side a little bit further up.
While that's happening, Richard, we've just got a question coming in saying, can you fake a HDR by putting together the same image with different light settings?
Sorry, what does that mean?
Now, if that's a way, I think if somebody's saying regarding an image, putting together an image, HDR is quite a particular image that's been taken using a special camera. JPEG image, you can't stitch them together as a HDR because between white and black, a JPEG only has sort of 254 points, whereas a HDR has many millions of points, so it looks at the different ones. So you know, putting together the image, you know, creating a HDR can be done using particular sort of Photoshop I think Photoshop 4, you can actually create HDRs. I hope that was the question that that was meant on that one. Thanks, Rich. Sorry.
Thank you, Martin. So we've also had another question in from Martin Cronin about using move images as background pictures, and I'm not sure about if he's talking about using it as a background picture or if it's an HDR, but I'll just explain both anyway. Basically, if you're going to download an HDR environment picture, you need to make sure it's either an HDR type format or a EXR type format, and they're both completely uncompressed formats, which means that you can use them as lighting environments and you get the full scale of lighting from them. And you also need to make sure that it's in a LL or long latitude type format, and that basically means it's exactly twice as wide as it is long. So that's what you need to use as an HDR image, and you can go off and find lots of them on the internet. Move have got lots of them. There's also a couple of other good places that you can find them, like HDR Labs. If you're going to use anything as a background picture, you can use whatever you like, because literally a background picture is all it is an image that you place behind the scene. So it doesn't really have any effect on the scene. All it is just an image that you place behind it. So you can use whatever type, format, or size, shape as you like. So if you want to use a JPEG, you can. Obviously, if you want it to match up perfectly, you'll want the size of the JPEG to match up with the size of your render. But that's up to you completely. You can do it however you like. And you can see down here that my render is now completed. I've got the sunlight shining perfectly down the ground here, just as I wanted it. The only issue here is that we've got a little bit of noise up here and down here, and that's simply because I'm currently rendering at quality 4 at the moment. So if I crank that right up to quality 10, we'd get rid of that, and it'd look just like the picture that I put up on Facebook. So yeah, hopefully that answered everyone's question, and I'll pass you back.
Okay, we're going to hand over to Martin again. The Replace Me tool, people struggling a bit with actually finding where the components are on Google's 3D warehouse. So.
Yeah, this is a question that it's a good opportunity to answer, because yeah, it's come up on our forum, and you know, we do get asked this question in support. What's happened is Google have made quite a few changes to the warehouse, and you know, I would imagine that some people have seen this. So, you know, in the videos that we've put together, what we say is that, you know, when you search the warehouse, you search for the Shaderlight library. And the reason for this is because if I search in the warehouse here for Shaderlight library, you know, we don't get any responses because we're just looking for models. Yet if I search for collections, we now see we have our Shaderlight library components. So in our Shaderlight library, we have all of our light fixtures, our Replace Me components. So we've got, you know, all of these in here. So, you know, this is one way that you can use it. So, you know, if you search the warehouse for Shaderlight library, and make sure that you search under collections, you will find our models here as well. Now, within our components here, if there are things you can search for. So if I search for Shaderlight Visa, what this is doing is this looks at our library of Visa lighting that we've set up here as well. So, you know, just by searching for Shaderlight Visa, we find, you know, those materials there. Now, if I also search for Replace Me Tree, and this brings up our Replace Me trees as well, so we can see, you know, all the different trees that we've set up as Replace Me. Now, if this is new to people regarding, you know, what's a Replace Me, the answer to this one is if I select this oak tree component here, and I place this next to Susan in SketchUp, and we can see we've just got this Face Me component here. But when I render this in Shaderlight, what happens is this now goes onto the cloud and actually downloads the model of the tree in 3D, which it's going to bring this into Shaderlight. So we can just see this is downloading. Now, because we've got the webinar happening at the moment, you know, the download is just taking that a little bit longer there, you know, because we're all sort of hitting the network while we're running sort of the webinar. But we'll see this, that's downloaded, and that's now just going to upload Shaderlight. and that's going to bring in our 3D tree here. There we go. So that is the replace me. So yeah, finding those in the 3D warehouse. Yeah, search for replace me tree, replace me people, or the Shaderlight visa, and you know, or you can search the collections in there as well.
Okay. Okay, Richard. Can you render multiple camera angles automatically so I can go to bed and wake up with, say, 10 separate camera angles and renders?
Right, so yeah, we've had this question a few times about how you can go through, set a bunch of different scenes, and then render it, say, hit render and leave it overnight and come back and you'll have all the scenes put together and render correctly. And so what I've done is I've just created a couple more scenes in this attic scene that I was working on before, and I'll show you how you would do that. So we've got 3 scenes here. First one over here, second one here, and third one here. So to do this, what we use is Shaderlight's animation. So if I open up Shaderlight's animation, you can see that you can choose the frame rate here. If I change it to 1 frame per second, what that basically means is that there will only be 1 frame per second, which would be great, apart from the fact that currently you can see that it takes a certain amount of time to transition between each scene. And so you can see here that at 1 frame per second, I'm still going to render 10 frames, which isn't what we're looking for. So to alter this, I need to head up to Window, and I go to Model Info. And then under Model Info, there's a button called Animation. And it opens up the SketchUp animation settings. So what I need to do is alter this so that Shaderlight only renders one frame on each individual scene. So to do that, I need to change the scene delay to 0. And then change, leave and enable scene transitions on, and then change it to 1. You can see now that when I click back in here, I've got 4 scenes, and I'm now rendering 4 frames. So basically what it will do is it will render this frame, then it will move on to this frame, then it will move on to this frame, and then it will move on to this frame. And then you can obviously set the download, the save location, so I can save it there and call it, I don't know, animation save. Save it out. Call it PNG, that's fine. And that's it basically. You just hit render, and then Shaderlight will carry on overnight and render each individual frame as it goes along. And that's it, simple as that.
Excellent, thanks Rich. Quick question here we've had from Laurent Pamela, wondering if we can demonstrate a short photorealistic animation. I've actually got one of those that I can demonstrate. So I'll just change the presenter there. Okay. Hang on. I'm struggling to flip that back, sorry. While I just sort that out, Martin, sorry, can you just answer another quick question for me with regards to cove lighting?
Yeah, that's now we did see this one coming earlier, and I'm actually in the middle of the process of just creating this scene. So the question was how to model cove lighting. Now what I've done here, I've just created a very simple room, and I'm just going to just finish this off. And what I've done, I've created this room, and the way I've created this is with area lights here, and so just to create sort of a coving effect in the room. Now so up here we can see in these corners we've got that coving there, and you know, I've just put that in the recess. So I've just got these area lights in the recess there. Now I've just noticed that this area light is actually pointing in the wrong direction, so I'm just going to flip that, point that downwards, and depending on if you can actually see the light, you can simply just have these area lights up into sort of that recess there as well. So you know, if I've now put those up there, and I'll just render that, and I haven't got shadows turned on at the moment, so what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to go into my render settings and say that I'm using artificial lights only, and then this is an interior model with global illumination. So you know, we can now see the lights that's actually coming from that coving there. Now I've also noticed that I haven't got a floor on the base of my model here, which I was just modelling on that. So there we go. So now if I go inside the room, we'll get our global illumination, and we'll get the floor there quickly as well. So we get that effect coming down. So you know, and that can be adjusted using you know, either the exposure level here, so I can just tone that down if you want that to be a little bit softer lighting, you know, or we've got that options there as well. Now, I saw another question come in, and I can sort of work on that one while I'm in here. And the question was, what is an IES file? And you know, while I'm in the lighting menu here, we can actually see that I have you know, it mentions the IES web profile light. Now, a good way of showing this is if I show you one of our Visa lighting models that we've set up here. So if I search for Shaderlight Visa, if I bring in one of these lights here, so perhaps this uplighter on the wall, and an IES light is actually a virtual light profile in a file. So this light that I've brought in from our Visa lighting, now if I zoom into our light here, and we can actually see that the lighting is casting the particular shadow onto the wall. So if I just tone that down a little bit with our exposure, now we can really see this effect that we're getting on the wall with that shadow, the hot spot there, the softer spot underneath. This is nothing to do with the shadows from the object. This is actually coming from the IES file. So if I have a look in our component here that I've downloaded, we can see that we've got our IES file here, and this is coming in from a file. So we've actually got that data file there. And IES files can be downloaded from the manufacturers such as Philips, Saucony, GE Lighting. But you know, really, if you Google search for IES files, you'll actually see those you know, files that you can download. So yeah, an IES file is you know, really sort of a good way of creating that realistic, because it is that profile there. And you can see in the IES light that you actually, rather than having a value in Candela, you have a dimmer control. So we're saying that this is set to 100%. So this is 100% of the lighting. So this is the real lighting level as well from this lighting option. So yeah, so there's in this scene, you know, hopefully sort of that answered the question with the IES file. And also, you know, a quick explanation of a technique to use for that coving as well. So, you know, we can see our coving lighting in that recess.
Excellent. Well, I've got this animation ready to go, so I'll just flip over to my screen again. This animation was actually rendered by one of our customers, Daniel Tarm. So hopefully it shows you how quickly and simply you can, you know, stitch a few scenes together and render something quite nice to show your customers.
It is worth mentioning that you know, this is playing very smoothly here. I know using the online meeting tool, sometimes it does come across a little bit jerky. But yeah, if you know, if there are some videos on our YouTube channel.
If any of you have rendered your own animations, I mean, please do send them to us, and images as well. We're always looking for customer content to post on our website and on our Facebook page, and just share with other users. So if there is anything that you're particularly proud of and want to send over to us, please do. We'd love to see it. Right, so enough of that one. I'm going to hand over to Rich now, who is going to be talking about creating water.
Right, so yeah, this is a question that we get asked quite a lot. How's the best way to create water? And I'm just going to open up one of our testing scenes to show you how we've done it. So for this particular scene, literally all we've done is we've taken SketchUp's water pool light, so it's under translucent and then, under water, and then we're using this one here, water pool light. We've assigned that to the to our water, making sure that it's just a single plane, and then we've also, I just open this up, we've also set an opacity of 60, so you can see here that you can see through it quite well. If I render this now, you should see we have fairly realistic looking water. Give it a second to kick in. And there we are. You can see here that we've got the bump and the undulation coming from the texture, as you can see up here. We've also got the colour coming from the texture, but on top of that, you can see that as the light rays go through the water, they're refracting. And if I turn down the opacity just a little bit, you'll be able to see that a little bit more. You can see now that we can see straight through the water, right away to the ground at the bottom, and you can see that the reflection's all messed up, and that's because the refractions going through the water has changed that. So that's a really simple way to create water on the exterior, and so that's literally all I've done there. I've just turned the opacity down. I can turn that back up again. So that's a really good way to change to create water outside. If you wanted to create water inside, you can do it quite simply by creating a colour. So generally, I'd go for white, and then changing it to transparent, and then you want to choose liquid. And so obviously this particular water is a little bit bumpy, but if you wanted to get rid of that texture, you could literally just turn the texture off. And that should give you sort of really really still looking water. And you can see the same again, because we're using water, the refractions have altered the way that the light rays are going through the water, and they've made the ground plane sort of curve away from us, and that's basically because of refractions. And you should just be able to do that quite simply by changing it to transparent and then liquid. But same again, if you wanted to have sort of bumpy water, you could just use the water texture as we used before. So hopefully that's answered your question about how to create sort of realistic looking water. So I'll pass you back.
Okay, so Martin, we're experiencing some speckling issues with glossy floor surfaces. Is there anything you can help on this?
Really, it's that could be down to several things. We'd kind of want to see that. That may be down to, if you're using one of the auto materials, then that may be the bump that you're actually seeing on the material. It may be down to the quality needs to be set a little bit higher. That's a difficult one to answer. Really not knowing what material you're using. That one we can answer at support@artvps.com. If you do have any questions like that, if you're getting a particular effect, it's worth sort of sending that one over to us on that one.
It's the same with most things that are scene specific, right, Martin? It's difficult to gauge unless you can actually see the situation itself. When you're saying you're getting a lot of speckles, that could be a bumpy material. So I don't know. That we'd really need to see that one. Sorry, I can't sort of answer better on that one.
So we've had another question about IES lights, and who is it? Steve has asked whether or not scaling IES lights will scale the actual effects on the wall. Unfortunately, our light fixtures aren't scalable, because if you scale them, it causes issues with the amount of illumination they're giving off and all sorts of things like that. So if you need your lights to look bigger, you're going to have to try and find a different IES that has a different different profile that has a wider effect. And to be honest, there are thousands and thousands of different profiles out there, and I can post put a post up on the forum after the presentation that basically tells you a few different places you can get hold of IES lights for. And on top of that, I can show you a really great little tool that shows you how to view your IES profile. So I just open this up, and you can see here that I've got an IES file. You can see that by the fact that it says .ies. If I double click on that, you can see that it opens up in this program, and this program is called the IES Viewer, and you can find it just by searching IES Viewer in Google, and it's the first option that comes up. You can see here that it gives you a very basic visualization of what the profile looks like. However, if I click this little button here that clicks Render, you can see that it gives you a really realistic render of what the actual IES profile will look like. And so if you have an IES profile and you're not sure what it's actually going to look like, you can open it up in this application and it will render it out for you and show you what it will look like. And you can do things like change the brightness of it so you can see what it will look like at different brightnesses. And you can also change what it will look like from different distances away as well. So it's a really quick way of being able to examine what an IES profile will look like before you actually have to render it. So it's a great little tool. It's called IES Viewer, and you can find it just by searching IES Viewer in Google, and that'll be the first thing that comes up.
Is that a Windows-only application, the IES Viewer?
Unfortunately, yes. At the moment, they only make it for Windows, so you can't get it on Mac. There is a Mac version, a different program that does something similar, and I'll come back to you later on and let you know what that is.
We've had a couple of questions come in, which actually sort of work quite nicely with each other. Somebody's asked that you know, why doesn't our animation tool create a WMV file, and why doesn't our animation tool create a QuickTime file? So, you know, this has basically answered the question that you know, everyone wants the animation tool. Some people will want an AVI, some people want an MPEG. So what we've done is, at the moment, you know, we've created it so that you get all the images, and you know, then you've got free tools both in PC and Mac. You know, with the Windows Movie Maker and iMovie, you know, these create the movies for free. Or QuickTime, you know, QuickTime's a really nice one. That you know, it's sort of £20, and you know, ultimately you just load all the files in. So yeah, you know, that's why we don't do on that one.
Okay, I'm just having a quick look. Martin, did you say that you were ready to show a quick animation? Kitchen? Is that not ready? Okay, sorry. I saw that you'd had that.
Yeah, no, the yeah, we have a sort of a few animations. I know Kate showed you one earlier. You know, with regards to the animation, you know, the animation isn't just something that that really sort of with you know, you can use different settings, and you know, some of the animations we've put together using the chalk rendering facility. You know, using the chalk render, you know, that can create some really nice sort of architectural style animations as well. So you know, and this is one, and again, if it's coming across sort of jerky, this is you know, a smooth animation. And if you have a look at our YouTube channel, as I mentioned, that you know, we've got animations there as well. And you know, the one we showed earlier from Daniel Tall, that was an external one, and you know, this can be used on internal renderings as well. So this kitchen that you know, I've set up previously, and we can actually see the lights sort of reflecting in the surfaces. So you know, we're getting that movement of those lights as we move over, and so yeah, you know, really we can you know, sort of create a lot of sort of different effects and styles as well. You know, using sort of the different photorealism. I saw a comment that somebody made regarding the pool scene that Richard was showing, and it mentions about the tile pattern. Now, the tile that we use on the bottom of the pool, this is just a standard material, and that's tile checker, black and white. So you know, I know somebody mentioned that they don't have that material, but that should be in that SketchUp. You know, we generally use the SketchUp materials there. So you know, sometimes we do use custom materials, but yeah, that particular scene there, that was all standard SketchUp materials.
Okay. We're going to just run back to my screen for a second. We have a lot of questions regarding our training courses. I don't know how many of you know, but we are a SketchUp ATC, so we're an authorised training centre for Google SketchUp. We're based over here in the UK, in Cambridge. and we run courses out of our Cambridge office, but we do also run courses online. So if anyone is interested in taking a course either with Richard or with Martin here, who are authorised trainers, just go to our website and have a look at the courses we have available. Up until the end of March, we've got a promotion running for both. So if you have an online course, it's a buy one course and get a second free. So if you have a colleague that wants to join the course too, you can both come along together and get it for the price of one. So all the details are there. So please do take a look at our website and have a look, and just email us at training@artvps.com if you have any questions about the training. So Rich,
I can't actually find the Mac IES view at the moment. However, I will put a post up on the forum that both gives you some good links for HDR, some good links for textures, and when I find the Mac IES viewer, then I'll put that out there as well. So anyone that wants to see an IES viewer for Mac, if you check back on our forum later on, then there will be a link up there so you can download it. I think we're just about done. If there's no other questions from anyone, we'll just have a quick check to see if there's any other questions.
Looks like that's about it, Rich. Right, well, thanks everybody here for attending today. I'm sure you all found it informative. I know we got a lot of your questions answered for you. If you think of anything when you go away that you go, oh, should have asked it, send it over to support@artvps.com and they'll be able to help you. Again, we've got the training that Kate's mentioned. Get that while you can. But that's about it. So thanks very much for your time and happy rendering.